We remember him as the longtime host of Entertainment Tonight with that booming voice. There's a lot about the life of John Tesh that you may not know, though, including the time he lived homeless in a park for months, and most recently, his battle with cancer. John Tesh has a new book out. It's called Relentless, Unleashing a Life of Purpose, Grit, and Faith. Let's welcome John to our show. Where are you right now? Sort of paint the picture for where you're at.
I'm in my basement in Los Angeles, and we're all hunkered down here. We have our three grandkids, 8, 6, and 3. They're homeschooling from our house today, and later I'll be doing my radio show. And so things really haven't changed that much for me in quarantine. We normally do everything in the house anyway. So the difference is that my wife is a great Italian cook, so I have more home cooked meals now, much to her chagrin.
Well, if you ever need a house guest, I'm willing to donate myself to your kitchen table and try it out too.
Please.
Let's talk about your career. At one point, you were living in a tent in a park, homeless, and then within 36 months, you're working in New York. How does that happen?
When I started connecting the dots on my life, and I went back, because I always thought that the period of being homeless, being thrown out of college for forging a professor's name to a drop bad card, I always thought that between that time and when I was anchoring the news at 23 years old in New York City, I always had it as like 7 or 8 years, but it was actually 36 months. Yeah. And it was the reason it happened really was that when I was living in a pup tent in a park in Raleigh, and my parents had thrown me out of the house, and the school had thrown me out, and my girlfriend broke up with me. I had burned all of my ships, so I didn't have a choice but to sort of beg my way onto a local radio station and then TV. And I didn't really have a family for a few years, and so I was driven at that moment.
It's an incredible story. I really encourage everybody to pick up the book. It's really inspiring, and you're very candid, as you just mentioned, about your battle with prostate cancer. How are you doing now?
Yeah, I'm healed now, but in fact, 5 years ago, 2 weeks ago, was when I was given 18 months to 2 years to live, and that was a time, as you know, in the book, we made the decision to sort of do the This Is Us TV show version where we titrate little bits and pieces and flash back to when I was in the hospital and getting treatment and everything, but. My health is good, and I think that the reason that people are embracing that part of the book is that it was a rare combination of not only having faith for the doctors and also some really intense diet plans, but also ultimately when the last treatment was coming through and they were going to wipe out most of my insides, my wife and I had been studying something known as divine healing, which is relying on certain scriptures to accept your healing, the healing that was promised in the Bible, and that's when I was ultimately healed of all the cancer. And so that supernatural story is a story that a lot of people are relating to right now, especially.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, John, in the book that there's a particular verse in the Bible that really stuck out to you. In fact, you and your wife and your son had it tattooed.
Yeah, it's right there. It's a picture of a mountain, and it's Mark 11:23. Not that any of us are fond of tattoos. I just wanted that reminder, and it's pointed at me. Whoever says to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will be done, shall have what he says. And basically, what I'd like to say to people is that, especially now during this crazy time in the world, Proverbs 18:21 also says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, meaning you can have all these thoughts of doubt and fear, but the moment they come out of your mouth, it's going to have an effect on your body, not only spiritually, but also at the quantum level, the particle level. And I believe that I made myself sick at 63 years old, because my dad got cancer at 63 years old in his life, and he died from it in four months after the diagnosis. And then I got cancer at exactly the same year, and almost at the same month. And I realized it was just because I was worried about it my entire life. And when I got that revelation, I realized it's not a great idea to be speaking worry and doubt over yourself in sickness.
That's incredible. You mentioned a lot. You had a vision. You had visions as a child. You had visions of success of yourself all throughout stages of your adult life too. There are people that might be watching our interview and have a vision and then cancer hits or a pandemic
Right.
hits. What
Yeah.
advice
Yeah.
do you have for people who thought that they were on this road and now they're taking a left turn?
Yeah, it's and you know, I mean, in order to get to your level or the professional level or where you are right now, that you actually have to be able to see it before you can move toward it. And I've always been like that, and I, that's a great way to manifest success and even healing in your life. But what I think what a lot of people don't understand, and I didn't until I read a couple of key books. One book is The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. Who's a clinical psychologist who writes, even in the first sentence, life is difficult. And until you can understand that, there's no way for you to accept it. You can't transcend it. And then Jordan Peterson, and also Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, who wrote A Man's Search for Meaning. He's a Holocaust survivor. Understanding that suffering is a big part of this world. And so when something comes on you, the only way, whether it's cancer or it's depression or it's a relationship that's fallen apart, for me, and this is in the book, the only way to really get through it is to have rituals, to have a process, and to be able to see yourself on the other side of it. That's very hard to tell a cancer patient who is puking, like I was from chemo. But to have people around you that believe the same thing, and that was my wife Connie, it makes it a little bit easier. In fact, the wild thing for me is that the only place that I could get away from the sickness during chemo was to go to the Hotel del Coronado. I don't know what it was, but we went there, and I would walk on the beach, and none of the drugs would help me, and I would walk on the beach there, and I would see the Navy SEALs, and I would watch them go through their suffering and their training, and it was really an elixir for me.
No kidding. Okay. You know what? There is something magic about the beaches here in San Diego. It's like this special healing power that they have, especially for the soul.
Amen. Yeah.
John Tesh, what a pleasure to talk to you. The book is incredible. I highly recommend it for folks, especially if you're going through something right now. Let's be honest, we all kind of are. It's an uplifting story, and it will leave you very hopeful at the end. John, thanks.
Thanks for your time.